Alright, so Vanderbilt just posted this video about Yunara, big. So we're gonna watch it and see the first little sneak peek preview of the new ADC that's coming out. I'm really excited because I've been seeing a lot of things that she's like basic ADC, maybe like a Jinx kind of feel, or like an Ashe, you know, something that's very standard ADC feel. So I'm excited to watch it and I'm excited to play her. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Thanks to Riot, I was able to playtest Yunara. So in today's video, I'll show you her abilities, exact tooltips, cooldowns, her gameplay and tips from Riot, as well as a lot of interactions with her abilities that everyone should know about. Yunara's passive.
Okay, that didn't look very simple, but
it's called Bow to the First Lance. Yunara critical strikes deal extra magic damage. Yep, that's it.
Her critical strikes deal extra magic damage.
That's it. Yunara's Q is Cultivation of Spirit. Yunara gains a stack of Unleash with every attack, plus an extra one when she hits a champion or lands a crit. At max stacks, Yunara can activate her Q to gain attack speed, bonus damage on hit, and will deal splash damage in a small area with each attack. This ability is automatically activated while Yunara is transcended, and that comes from her ult. Let's talk about the ult now before we look at W and T, as ult empowers all the abilities. Yunara's ult is called Transcend Oneself. Yunara taps into her full power, entering a transcendent state for several seconds. That enhances all of her basic abilities for the duration. That enhances all of her basic abilities for the duration. Yunara's W is called Arc of Judgment, Arc of Ruin. Yunara sends a swirling prayer beat out, which damages and slows enemies as it travels. At its endpoint, it lingers and expands for a moment, continuing to damage enemies who don't
just keeps going?
Get out of the way. While transcended, instead of a swirling prayer beat, she fires a beam of spirit magic that slows and deals damage in a line. Yunara's E is called Kanmei Steps, Untouchable Shadows. Yunara gains a quick burst of move speed to chase down enemies, reposition, or dodge skill shots. While transcended, instead of a move speed boost, this ability becomes a dash. Now let's have a closer.
Yeah, that looks like Kai'Sa's like E, like the way that she runs. That upgraded E looks so cool. Okay, 110% physical damage. Slows by 99% decaying. Whoa! And it doesn't look like it has a cast time at all, so like you could throw that out and just like kite back super well, it seems. Except the slow is worse when it's transcended, it looks like. But I mean, the damage is much, much higher. Cast time scales with permanent attack speed. Arc of Judgment deals 100% based on level damage to minions, and its tick damage executes minions if 6 ticks of damage would kill them. Okay! Wait, that's kind of cool.
Here is the passive. Yunara auto attacks that are crits deal bonus damage.
Wow, that's actually kind of crazy. Dude, one line for a passive.
The bonus damage is 10%, but it also scales with 0.1% ability power. Yunara Q is her bread and butter. It's the ability that you will need to learn to play around. We will stop here for a moment, as there are plenty of things to know.
Okay, I want to look at this for a second. So Unleash is kind of like, I think like Syndra's thing, right? Her Unleash is kind of like Jinx as well with her passive stacks. Obviously it goes to 8 rather than 3, but still.
And you need a total of 8 stacks to be able to activate the ability. It stacks pretty quickly, and the ability itself doesn't have any cooldown. Q passive also makes Yunara attacks deal an additional magic damage on hit, from 5 to 25 depending on Q level.
Yunara unleashes her potential for 5 seconds, during which she gains 80% attack speed. Holy crap! Damage from spread attacks deal 250% of minions below 30% health. So her Q basically has an execute. Yeah, so her Q gives her, more attack speed. So obviously you would upgrade that first for sure. And more on-hit damage. And more passive on-hit damage. I mean, like this, this is definitely what he said, the bread and butter, for sure.
Yunara splash attacks spread in all directions. Even if someone stands in front of whoever Yunara attacks, she can still hit them with splash damage. And how many extra targets can she hit? There is no limit to the amount of units she can hit with her splash damage. As a result, her wave Q with Q activated is super good, and in teamfights, she can deal a ton of AoE damage.
Wait, that's
Another super important thing about Yunara Q is that it stacks on everything you attack. It stacks on structures too. But what if you attack the structure with your Q activated? Well, good news for Yunara.
It's like
her auto-attacks still spread through structures, like here with turret. That's another great thing for wave clearing. And not only that, but attacks that spread also deal 250% damage to minions below 30% HP, ensuring you don't miss too many CS. What is also worth noting is that if you crit your target, the spread attacks will crit as well. Oof, her Q was pretty stacked. Now let's look at her W.
Dude, that's
her
so
W
crazy.
Base cooldown is 10 seconds, reduced to 5 seconds while transcended.
Wow, okay.
Both the initial hit
crazy,
and the damage per second area of effects at the end of W deal physical damage, but scale with both AD and AP. Initial
Can't wait
hit
for the
slows
AP
by
one
99%,
shot
decaying over 1.5 seconds, so it's a really powerful slow. Empowered W, however, is like a laser version of W. Overall, does more damage, but is split half in physical and half in magic damage. Both of these parts scale with AD and AP. As you can see here, her W-AP scalings are pretty decent. Maybe she won't be playable as an AP champion, but she definitely will make a good use of any AP
the mixed damage is going to be
items,
really
such
good.
as Ginsu's Rage Blade. When it comes to W, it's also worth noting you can shoot your Ws through the walls, no problem.
Okay.
And another thing you should remember is that the cast time of W is reduced with permanent attack speed you have. So this should make it easier to land your Ws in the late game when enemies get some more movement speed. Now let's have a look at Yunara's E. The cooldown of this ability is from 10 to 6 seconds. She gains from 60 to 80% movement speed depending on the level of ability. This is also increased by another half when you move towards an enemy champion.
That's crazy.
It makes it the perfect ability for chasing enemies. That being said, this movement speed boost decays over 2 seconds. When you activate Yunara's ult, your E becomes a dash, similar to Lucian's. You might be wondering, can she dash through the walls with that empowered E? Well, yes she can. This wall is about the biggest wall she can dash through with her empowered E.
It's a very small dash.
Cannot dash through the thickest walls, but through some thinner walls, yes. Another thing that's worth noting is that your ult refreshes your E. This means that before casting your ult, you usually want to use your E for the movement speed boost. Using E, ult, E is gonna be a very common combo for chasing or escaping. Now let's look at the final tooltip, the tooltip of your ultimate spell. Yunara's ultimate ability has a cooldown of 100, 85, 70 seconds based on the ult level. When you use this ability, you enter Transcendent State for 15 seconds, so it's a pretty long time.
That's pretty long.
I already mentioned that ult refreshes the E cooldown on cast, but during the testing I noticed that when Transcendent State wears off, it refreshes both her W and E cooldowns. Although I haven't seen a mention that it should do it. If this feature is intended, using your W and E right before your Transcendent State wears off would make a lot of sense. Now let's talk a little about gameplay. Yunara is a traditional auto-attack based AD carry, and Riot doesn't intend for her to be played in other roles. So Riot wants Yunara only as an AD carry in the bot lane. Yunara is intended to serve the player that embraces core skills, such as spacing, positioning, and high damage uptime.
Clicking the minion?
We've already gone through her abilities in details, so how should you play her? Let's start in lane. As Riot is suggesting, play safe until your Q is ready or about to be ready, and then look to start aggressing. Use your E to boost movement speed after you hit your enemies with W. That way, you can slow your enemies heavily. Once you get your ult, your opportunity to outplay enemies increases drastically. That being said, as Riot is saying, Yunara thrives in small scraper fights rather than massive, highly organized teamfights. But I still believe she should do pretty decent in typical teamfights when she has her team around her. On the other hand, when you play against Yunara, look at her usage of Q or ult. When you see her activating either of that, it is a good moment to disengage the fight and wait for her empowered Q to wear off. Yunara's ability to engage relies heavily on her allies or her ability to hit you with W or empowered W. So try to dodge Yunara's W's as much as possible. Yunara will make it to the live servers in the middle of July, precisely on July 16.
The whole
so what do you guys think about Yunara? Playing her was pretty fun. Let me know in the comments what do you think. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
I mean, a month away is pretty far, but obviously she'll come to PBE and I'll play it. But man, she looks like a mix of like Vayne with her E, and then Aphelios Flamethrower with her Q, and then her W with Zeri, and like the alt timer. Man, that just looks so fun. I'm really excited for it to come out. She looks actually so awesome.